Welcome to the Town of Hampstead Candidate Forum. I am Tammy Ledley, the Town Manager. This evening's forum is being held at the Hampstead Town Hall. This program is being streamed live on the Community Media Center's website at www.carrollmediacenter.org and will be rebroadcast on Comcast Cable Channel 19. Because the forum is being recorded, we ask that everybody please turn their cell phones off and that attendees refrain from applause, making noise during the forum, or doing anything visual or audible to express support or opposition to any candidate during the event. Our moderator for tonight's forum is Barbara Burke from the Hampstead Board of Supervisors of Elections.
Thank you. We'll start off this evening by introducing you to each of the candidates. Following their introduction, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Let's start with Mayor Nevin.
Okay. I'm Chris Nevin, the current mayor of Hampstead, and I am running unopposed in the election on May 12th. I figured the best way to approach the intro was to give a personal, followed by a professional, and then a political little bit background for those who don't know me, and for those who do, might serve as a refresher. Personal, married to Joyce, who's a registered nurse, works over in Westminster at Carroll Digestive for 32 years. We have 4 children, Colleen, the oldest, living in San Diego, Kelly, who's now married, living in Leesburg, Virginia, Laura, who's in Baltimore, and Sean, who's a sophomore at Bridgewater College. So they've all grown, raised here, and spread their wings, so to speak. On a professional level, I think it's important to know that the mayor job, and every one of them here, they're all part-time jobs. And I like to refer as to my real job as the one I work on every day. I work for BB&T in their Baltimore office in commercial real estate finance. Basically, commercial real estate finances for projects, large projects, warehouses, shopping centers, apartments, anything you try to charge rent for, I try to find a way to make a loan on in a reasonable manner. I've been basically in banking since 1982. I was first an accountant for the old Equitable Bank back in the day, and then transitioned into commercial real estate while there. Since then, I've been merged several times, and we've had some local mergers, so I know how unsettling it can be for employees of Joe Banks as what they're going through. Politically, I started on P&Z just like Jim and Chuck, my running mates, back in 1994. I was first elected mayor in 1995, served for 8 years during a time of unprecedented growth, and we had a lot of infrastructure issues to overcome. 2003, for 7 years, I served on the town council. Basically, Haven became the mayor. We went flipped seats, and I was on the council. In 2010, I was fortunate enough again to assume the position of mayor. So the town, I think we have a very good track record. Property taxes are comparatively low, and our streets are safe through the efforts of our police department. They're also clean and plowed, and we have quality water due to the efforts of our public works department. I look forward to continuing this conversation. 1 second to spare. Or over. Sorry.
Mr. Charles Drennan.
Good evening. My name is Charles Drennan. I'm running for councilman on the Hampstead Town Council. A little bit about myself. My wife, Kara, and I have been married 32 years and residents of small crossings in Hampstead since 1990. We have 2 children. John, our oldest, passed away on May 6, 2008, and is buried in the Hampstead Cemetery. And Benjamin, 27, lives in Manchester. I've been in the construction industry for 40 years this June, and I'm currently working at Fort George G. Meade as a contractor for the federal government. I've been employed with Autumn Contracting for 3 years as project manager, superintendent, and currently managing 12 active projects. I served on the Small Crossings HOA since 1993 as president from 1993 to 2000, and again from 2004 to 2014, and currently as architectural advisor. My first experience serving with the town of Hampstead was appointed position of the Planning and Zoning Board from 2004 to 2006. I was fortunate enough to share in the accomplishments of Hampstead Marketplace and Ileana Plaza. I was co-founder and captain of North Carroll Auxiliary Police from 2007 to 2014, serving the towns of Hampstead and Manchester, augmenting the police departments with community and business patrols and assisting with special events. I'm running for the town council because I care about the town of Hampstead and the people who live and work here. We will be facing some major challenges in the coming years with the Main Street Revitalization Project, and I sincerely hope that with my background in construction will allow me to be of service to the mayor, council members, and residents of Hampstead to provide a better understanding of the phase of construction we face moving Hampstead forward to a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James Rourke.
Hello, my name is Jim Rourke, and I'm a candidate for a seat on the Hampstead Town Council. I'm single, always have been, no children, and I have managed Rourke Printing Services since 1981. Some of my community activities include being a board member on the Brandywine Station Condominium Homeowners Association since 2009, and I've served on the Planning and Zoning Commission of Hampstead since 2013. I think Hampstead's a special place. The small town charm, the friendly people, the low tax rates, and the low crime rate make it an extremely attractive place to call home. If you elect me to serve on your town council, I will do all in my power to make sure that Hampstead retains its small town charm, continues to be the best place in Maryland to raise children, and also remains one of the safest places to live in the state of Maryland. I'll also do all I can to keep property taxes at the low rate that they are now. One way we can do that is by drawing new businesses to Hampstead. Not only do new businesses help keep our tax rates low, but they also help the local economy. By bringing in new companies along our town borders, they bring new job opportunities with them, and their employees will spend their money in our community at our local businesses. Over the next 4 years, Hampstead will be going through a Main Street revitalization. I truly believe when it's done, we'll have a beautiful, brand-new Main Street infrastructure where people will want to go and shop and spend time with their family and friends. Getting through the 4-year process will be a challenge for us all, especially the current Main Street merchants. We need to ensure that these businesses can maintain their day-to-day operations with as little interruption as possible. I ask that you vote for me, Jim Rourke, for Town Council of Hampstead.
Thank you, Mr. David Unglesby.
Good evening. I first want to thank the Ms. Burke this evening, Town Hall employees, members of the Carroll Media Center, citizens who came out tonight, and citizens that are watching us tonight on TV or screening us on the web. My wife and I moved here along with our son, Alex Unglesby, here in 2003. I'm originally from Howard County, grew up in the Lisbon area in Ellicott City. When I moved here to Hampstead, I was appointed to the Main Street Revitalization Board. Basically, what we did in that program was we took a look at the program that was already on the books and actually brought it up to date to meet current standards and current ideas that were going around at that time. I also served as chairman of the Hampstead Zoning Board of Appeals from approximately 2004 to 2007. Also currently serve as the Westwood Park HOA president, founding president. Westwood Park is located behind us here near North Carroll High. We have approximately 125 homes, single family. I also currently serve as chief election judge for Carroll County Board of Elections, District 8. I have a BS degree in business management. I've worked as a manager for various companies over the past 25 years. Currently work for Thrush Automotive, which specializes in import cars and high-performance repairs in Columbia, Maryland. Hampstead's best days are ahead with the new Main Street project and what it will mean for the town. I feel that my background and experience in leadership roles and working well with others is what the voters want for their council in order for us to meet these challenges we will be facing during the Main Street project. We need to strive to keep local businesses here in town and attract new businesses as well. This is what I know I can do for the townspeople once I'm elected here to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's the format for tonight's forum. I will ask the candidates a series of questions. These are a mix of preset questions as well as those received from the public. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer each question. All candidates will answer the identical question. I will then open questions up to the audience. Ms. Ledley will collect written questions from the audience members. Note cards have been provided in the back on the table for their written questions. At the conclusion of each question and answer period, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a summary statement. We will be timing the responses and will signal you when your time has run out. Let's get started. First question, Mayor Nevin. In your opinion, what are the most important challenges facing our town in the next few years, and how do you propose we address these challenges?
Okay, 3 major challenges, 1 in 2 parts. Main Street revitalization, I've already heard it mentioned. That's the two-parter. First one is the water main project, which is basically our project, the town's project. We just recently approved a contract with Mid-Atlantic Utilities. Hopefully, all things go well with permitting with the state, which we anticipate that to happen. That should start June 1st and take a year. Then SHA is supposed to start this time next year, coming right behind them. It'll be the challenge of working with a large state bureaucracy, one that we've done in the past when we did the bypass planning phases. We'll have to draw on the partnerships and the relationships that we have to make that project move smoothly. Then another one is dealing with ever-increasing regulatory costs. Everybody heard about the stormwater or the rain tax being repealed. Well, the tax may have been repealed, but there's still work that needs to be done that is mandated by the feds and enforced by the state. And it's going to cost us about $50,000 to $60,000 a year for the next 5 years. We have to find a way to collect or to fund those projects. And lastly, we're going to have some turnover among senior leadership in Town Hall. Most importantly is finding a new PC, a police chief. Ken's told me he's retiring next year. We've enjoyed a very close personal relationship for 20 plus years. He's basically a cool, steady, calm influence and an advisor well beyond being a police chief to me personally. He's done a lot of good for our town. He's produced a locally homegrown police department that's an award-winning police department. It has a lot to do with us winning our best place to raise kids and safest town in Maryland. We're likely, as a result of his efforts, we're likely to have a very deep pool of candidates to choose from, and we must choose wisely. So that's how I see the biggest issues facing the town of Hampstead.
Thank you. Mr. Drennan?
I have to agree with the mayor. The bypass is certainly going to be one of the largest obstacles we'll have to face in the coming 3 to 4 years, not only with the logistics of traffic, but also with the businesses on Main Street trying to conduct day-to-day business, the fire department trying to respond to emergency situations. If the street is totally destroyed with pipes and asphalt and what have you, that's going to be hard to negotiate. We are very fortunate to have a bypass that can be utilized for commuters coming south in the morning and heading north in the evening, which will alleviate a lot of the congestion on Main Street, I hope, by diverting to the bypass. The other issue is the rain tax, the stormwater management. I'm not quite up to par on as far as the mayor is on that, but it's definitely something we have to consider with the taxes that are going to be imposed and what we need to come up with as a town. So with those couple things in mind, that would be my focus for the upcoming 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Well, we all tend to agree, I think. The first big thing that's going to happen on Main Street is going to be the water main and sewage replacement project, which will be starting sometime in the next couple months. The existing water mains are ancient. They break all the time. They need to be replaced. This is something that has to be done. Once that's done, it leads straight into Main Street revitalization. While the state is footing the bill for most of the revitalization project, the town is responsible for paying for the water main replacement, and it's a big cost. Because of that, we need to constantly be aware of possible economic benefits that are available to us. One item that the town is addressing right now that can help with this challenge is to become a certified sustainable Maryland community. A sustainable community seeks to maintain and improve the economic, environmental, and social characteristics of an area so its citizens can continue to lead healthy, productive, enjoyable lives. Basically, living cleaner, more responsible environmentally so that future generations don't have to clean up our mess. With becoming a certified sustainable Maryland community, it opens our town up to more grants and more help from the state. That's how we can help pay for these projects. The more financial help we can get from the state for our town, the easier it makes it for all of us. And that's how I think that we can address the cost that we're going to need to incur to do the projects we have coming up.
Thank you. Mr. Unglesby?
Yes, thank you. The Main Street, I feel, is the Main Street project is the top priority that we're facing in the town. But what we need to do is we need to hold the state of Maryland accountable for the timeline that they've set for us. We need to make sure that they're meeting their goals and that they're meeting their time frame that they've laid out. I'll also make sure that the townspeople and the businesses are kept fully informed at all times on what's going on with the Main Street project. Especially the ones that live and work on Main Street. They're the ones that are going to really need these answers immediately. Next challenge is keeping current businesses in town. Unfortunately, we've seen other streetscapes. They've lost businesses, Reisterstown, Tonytown. I need to work with the businesses to allow to give them the tools they need so that they can stay here in this town. Also attracting new businesses after the renovation is completed. The last challenge I see is actually the increase that we've seen recently in heroin use and drug use in the county. Unfortunately, we had our first death here in Hampstead of an overdose. I will work with the town's police department to make sure that they're getting everything they need to do their job, fully funded, and I will support them, myself, and with the rest of the town council to make sure they have everything they need to combat that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2. With the upcoming Main Street revitalization project, how do you propose to maximize the gain and minimize the pain for Hampstead's merchants, residents, and visitors? Mayor Nevin?
Okay, basically communication, communication, and more communication. First, we're going to deal with our water contractor, Mid-Atlantic Utilities. Quite frankly, we've had a lot of meetings with them as we were approving their bid, and quite an impressive group. Did a lot of background checking on them, as would be appropriate for a contract of this sort, and nothing but positive comments, and quite frankly, they have a good working relationship with the state of Maryland. And as a result, they're not required to do some of the work that was required, and some of the costs have already come down. So we're looking forward to that. We'll have a project inspector on staff. Tammy Ledley will be out there regularly. I'll be out there, and likely Kevin Hand from the Public Works Department as well. Then we're going to have the state come right behind it. That's going to present a separate challenge with all their bureaucracy and everything they do. It is very much their project, and they'll tell you so. But we'll be out there as much as we can, checking them out, making sure things are done right, attending progress meetings. And then lastly, as it relates to that, we'll know what's going on, but everybody out there has got to know what's going on, all the residents, the businesses, the churches. So we'll make frequent use of our Facebook page, and then as well go to our website. We'll have frequent updates, and then of course press releases. We're fortunate to have the Northern News here, and they come out weekly, and there would be something like a weekly update as far as progress goes. So that's how we intend to face the challenge and make sure at the end of the day we have a positive for the town and a positive net gain all the way through.
Mr. Drennan?
Well, with the revitalization, I guess the main thing is to keep your eye on the big picture and what we're looking for, or what we're looking at the end of this project, having a wonderful revitalized Main Street with new infrastructure, which is huge, huge, huge for us. My goal would be to keep the businesses in mind, residents, and it's going to take some creative thinking to work with the merchants, work with the residents, possibly involve the police department, where we can go outside the box instead of having West Alley one way, maybe two ways, utilize some parking spots, M&T Bank. There's a lot of ways to get around the revitalization, hopefully, so that people can still get to the Main Street merchants, the residents can still get to their homes in the evenings, and that's something that I would like to pursue with the Main Street revitalization, the businesses and the residents also. It's going to be dirty, it's going to be dusty. We apologize for that, I'm sure, but that's something that we really need to work on to try and keep everybody as happy as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Well, there's no doubt about it that the businesses and residents of Main Street are going to feel the brunt of this project much more than anybody else. They will also experience the benefits when it's done more than anyone. The revitalization is going to be done in sections, so the entire 2-mile stretch will not all be impaired at one time. But while they're working on a section, it's going to be a challenge to keep it going. What we need to do, as the mayor said, is let everyone know what's going on. We have to make people aware of alternative parking areas, different ways to get to the business you want to get to, and ensuring that access is available to all businesses at all times, and that residents also have access to their houses at all times. Most of us that live in town, we know the back streets and alleys, and we can pretty much get to where we need to go. We need to make sure that everyone out of town that's coming to Main Street knows these access points. At the same time, more than ever, we also have to support our local businesses. Instead of going to Lowe's for that plumbing part, just make sure you go to True Value. Instead of going to Zales, go to Shipley's for your jewelry. That same connection goes for all our Main Street businesses. If we can help them out, and we all share the pain, we'll all experience the gain when it's done. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Unglesby?
Thank you. During my time working on the Main Street Committee, we laid out ideas to ease that pain and suffering that we will all endure while the street is being renovated. We met here once a month over the course of 2 years, once again to update the plan that was already in place from the early 90s to bring it to current standards. One of the things on this is that we were going to have a go-to person, a Main Street manager, so to speak. That would be the person that could answer any citizens' questions, or if one of the council members or mayor had a question. In this case, the town manager, Ms. Tammy, is going to be taking care of that. She will be available to answer any questions that we need answered for citizens. The town will also need to keep the various citizens and businesses informed in town on what's going on. We have various formats that we've already discussed, such as email lists that citizens can sign up for, social media websites. I also propose that we actually have a dedicated Main Street website that's just set up for that purpose. I will also propose that a large section in the town's quarterly newsletter be dedicated to what's going on, maps, photos of the such, so that people will be able to actually visually see it if they do not have access to the internet. I also propose that we have dedicated meetings on a quarterly basis here at Town Hall or in conjunction with our council meetings, so that we could bring up to date. We can have pictures showing, again, the graphs of what's going on in the street project, what we've done, this is what we're currently doing, and this is what the future holds. This way, everybody has access to that information. I also want to look for the town to put up temporary parking sites throughout town to alleviate the congestion and help the citizens and businesses that live on Main Street so they will have places to park. Thank you.
Thank you. How do you propose to foster economic development in Hampstead? Mayor Nevin?
I guess I'll look to the past to start. We've done a lot to foster economic development all the way through town. Established mixed-use zoning for Main Street was one of the big ones. We had a lot of old houses on Main Street, second and third generation own them, may have fallen into a little bit of disrepair. Zoned them for residential office, residential business, so you get the doctors, the insurance agents, and uses of that type, which allow the conversion of those old houses to businesses which are well maintained. Look at the past of what we've done personally with moving our police department out of the back room here in Town Hall to their own department on Main Street, which was a very positive for the police department, gave them room to grow, plus the visibility. The old school and what we did with the rehab of the old school, and first they had to win low-income housing tax credits, which were a major piece of that financing package. And low-income housing tax credits are a state-administered package. And we basically had to fight tooth and nail with the state to get that project approved so it could be built. It's been a great addition to Main Street, and redid just a beat up old school that's been a cornerstone of our past and our history. More recently, you can look to Iliano's 2, you can look to Fuchs and what we did there. I think Tammy's background in economic development is a positive, Tammy Ledley, our town manager. And then finally, it's really important to appoint people with a balanced view toward growth who have a background in business. And I think we've done that in spades here in town. We've received numerous comments on the professionalism of our Planning and Zoning Commission from the people who've gone through the process, and they'll say to me that it's not normal that this is the type of process that you go through. Everybody's on point, and it's what's about in the best long-term interest of our town. And Chuck and Jim have been a prime example of this. So that's how I see economic development in Hampstead, continuing to do what we've done in the past and to work in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Drennan?
Being on the Planning and Zoning Committee, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Hampstead Marketplace and the Iliana Plaza, which, I've seen the businesses there just take off. They're doing a great job. J&P has taken over the town. They've done really well. There's two exciting opportunities. One is the industrial center at North Carroll of Route 482. The other one is at Black & Decker. So there's big possibilities there for economical development as well. As Chris said, it's going to have to be a managed situation where we can slowly bring that growth into the town, but I think the opportunity is there, and really would like to take advantage of that, see more green businesses come to town, LEED buildings, things of that nature. We're kind of restricted with water, so that's definitely a consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Well, I think we're well on our way in economic development, starting with last year's hiring of Tammy Ledley as town manager. Tammy came to us with a very strong background in economic development. She worked for both Baltimore County and the state in different economic development positions. Also last year, Lorena from the town office put together the Hampstead Business Guide. It's a great tool for doing businesses within the town. It has resources to help businesses with any problems they could run into. I think that when Main Street revitalization is done, we will have an outstanding atmosphere for small businesses to thrive in. I think Ms. Leslie's experience will get those vacant storefronts filled and will help all the existing businesses on Main Street grow. I also think that we should continue to promote our business parks, both at the north end and at the south end, to bring in some larger manufacturing businesses along the lines of the Fuchs, which is coming in. We have the great advantage of being able to host these large manufacturers on the edges of our town, and they can do their day-to-day business without interfering with our downtown Main Street area. And I think with the uncertainties surrounding Joseph A. Bank, we need to continue to grow our tax base and our job base in case anything happens there. Thank you.
Mr. Unglesby?
Thank you. Once the Main Street project is done, as planned, that's been laid out, we will have a town that businesses will want to come to and conduct business. A term that was used during my time on the Main Street Planning Commission was to make Hampstead a destination spot. Okay, in other words, it's a place where visitors and businesses will want to come for specific reasons. To stay here, shop, eat at our restaurants. I will reach out to niche businesses that will do just that. One business that we already have here on Main Street is the barbecue equipment store at 1300 Main Street. Steve offers an online store for his customers to shop, but also he set up a brick and mortar place here in Hampstead. This is exactly a great example of what a niche business is. It brings in people that wouldn't normally come to Hampstead, that are able to come to this particular spot and enjoy the rest of the town. I have multiple plans to attract other businesses to Main Street just for this niche market, to further enhance the destination plan idea. While I was on the Zoning Appeals Board, I was able to help citizens who actually had trouble getting zoning passed, either for their personal use or for business opportunities. A lot of the zoning hindered what they wanted to do. When they came to me and the board, we would look at each individual case on an individual basis and rule accordingly to help them out, if so. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your opinion of the town's financial position, budget, and tax rate? What funding priorities do you have, and are there any areas that should be off limits for spending cuts should they become necessary? Mr. Nevin?
Okay. Since I've been involved with the town's financial position over the last 20 years, I got to say it's good, but it is good. We survived the recent economic downturn basically by doing some belt tightening and looking at every expense that went into the budget. But basically, we're a reflection of the overall economy, and thank goodness it's starting to bounce back a little bit. The primary revenue drivers are property taxes. We've seen property values rise, therefore the revenue that we receive from those taxes should rise, as well as we get a share of what you pay the state. When you check that tax return, that Maryland tax return, that you're a resident of Hampstead, that doesn't result in you paying more tax. It just means that we're getting your fair share of it to spend locally instead of it in the general fund of the state or in the county. So that's coming back a little bit. So all that is very helpful. Basically, we'll just continue to take a long-term view as we always have. We'll be prudent stewards and always remember it's your money, it's not our money. Priorities, first thing we've got to do is the bond for the water main. Farmers and Merchants has provided us with a very competitive quote Very pleased with it. I think it'll help us in the long run, very long amortization period, a repayment period on the bond to match the long time that you have that water line in service. So it shouldn't put a stress on us financially. Stormwater remediation fee that I mentioned, we're working with the county in a partnership to save money there. It's a cost savings or a cost sharing that's proposed over the next 5 years, but it is $50,000. But it's $50,000 instead of $300,000. Basically, another concern is the revenue sharing for road paving. It's never come back to what it was. Typically, we received about $350,000 a year. It's been as low as $25,000, $30,000. It's bouncing back up, but it's not there yet, and the roads are definitely being impacted. Off limits are the Public Works Department and the Police Department, especially the Police Department. The goal is being financially resilient for the town and being as independent as possible from the revenue sharing authorities above us, the state and the county.
Thank you, Mr. Drennan.
The financial position of the town is very good. Tax rate is competitive with other towns. Funding priorities, I would have to agree with the mayor. It's going to be the police department and public works. At the conclusion of the revitalization project, we now own a stretch of road that we haven't owned before, so we will have to maintain and clear snow from that section of road. So now is the time to start thinking about what's going to be needed, the budgets that need to be set forward for that, additional equipment, salt, everything that goes along with clearing the roads. I must say the town does a great job with doing the communities and the side streets. Very impressed. And I hope we can do the same thing with the Main Street once that's turned over to us. So that would be the areas that I would consider to be off limits.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Rourke?
Well, I'll start with the one area that I think should be off limits, and that would be the police department. Chief Meekins has assembled an exceptional staff, and he's instituted some great programs. The latest move that he's doing is having Corporal Holland transition to a school liaison and investigator. I think that's a great move. I just think that with the police operating the way that we have them operating now under Chief Meekins, as they say, you don't mess with a good thing, and our police department is a very good thing. My opinion of the town financial position is that we are currently in a good place, but there are major projects coming up that need to be funded. Unfortunately, financial help that municipalities receive from county and state has decreased some, and we need to find ways to make up for that. As the mayor said, there's a bond coming up to help with the Main Street water main replacement project, and if we can get that going, and also by applying for and receiving grants. Tax-wise, property tax rate is one of the lowest in the county. I don't see why that would need to change, and the way we keep it low is we continue to grow our businesses in town. And that's what I think of the financial position of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Umglesby?
Yes, I've been looking over the town's financials recently, and at this point, we're in very good shape. Our tax rate is stayed at 20 cents for every $100 of property value assessed. Our bond debt that was taken out for the water line replacement should be able to be funded from our water system income. The new solar farm that the town has proposed to build on the other end of town will actually save us up to $40,000 a year in electrical costs throughout the town. Very nice. As far as off-limit programs, I will not cut it all into the police department. As before I said, the drug problem here in the area in the county is something that they're going to need funds to do. Also, Chief Meekins has discussed that he wants to add another officer, which will cost additional funds. Also, we need to fund any extra streetscape programs that we decide to do, such as cobblestone walks, decorative benches, things of that nature. We also have to repay some bond debt that we have currently on roads right now. The state highway has cut a lot of the user funds that we used for road maintenance, so that is something that we're going to have to really look into budget for future road work throughout the communities. Thank you.
If you are running for an open seat, why did you decide to run for that position? If you are an incumbent, why did you decide to continue in office, and what are your major accomplishments? Mayor Nevin?
As the incumbent. I think we've had a few accomplishments. I've mentioned the police department. When I started here, it was in total disarray. We brought in Ken Meekins. It's now recognized for its professionalism throughout the county, even into the state. Public Works Department does a much better job than what they did before, much more technologically driven than when we arrived. We've got the bypass, we've got the old school, we've got a farmer's market on Main Street. You've got a coming solar array. So I think there's a lot of accomplishments. I'm fortunate to be part of a great team that has a lot of good ideas. The challenge, after accomplishments, the challenge I think I mentioned, we've got a couple of key team members leaving. We got Tammy Ledley, who's new to the town manager position, and hopefully we're keeping her around for at least 5 years. So that runs through the next election cycle. Got that?
I got it.
And then I mentioned Ken already. I think we're going to have a deep pool of people who are willing to replace him, and we'll have our pick. But it could happen quickly, so who knows? And then finally, Roger Steger, somebody I didn't mention, who is the foreman of our Public Works Department, basically grew up in the Public Works Department of Hampstead over the number of years. I think he's been employed with us for 30. He's going to be retiring as well. I think we have a deep bench there, though, with Kevin Hand taking his place. So overall, I think there's a lot of good things going on in Hampstead. The town's moving in the right direction, and want to keep it moving in the right direction.
Mr. Drennan?
I'm new to the council, so my background has been with, again, the Planning and Zoning Board and with the North Carroll Auxiliary Police, which gave me the opportunity to work very closely with the town and the town police department. All great people at the police department. I'm very sorry to hear Ken's retiring. I knew it was coming, but still not happy about that. So. The officers that he has in his employment there are great. I've worked with them closely for 7 years. Not a better bunch of people around. This town is very fortunate to have them here as officers. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Well, I decided to run because I feel that I can better now serve the town as a member of the town council than as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I really enjoy the planning and zoning, but when the second seat opened up on the council, I decided I'd step up and become a candidate for town council. During the last two years serving on planning and zoning, I've learned an awful lot about the inner workings between the town, the county, the state. I feel I have enough knowledge now of how small town governments operate, how they work, that I could be an asset to Hampstead and to the council. It takes a personal commitment and a time commitment to serve the town as a council member, and I'm ready to make those commitments to help Hampstead. I really enjoy the town, the people, and I want to see that it continues to thrive as a small town it is now. And whatever I can do to help out, I'm willing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Unglesby?
How you doing? I'm running for my seat because I was asked by several town residents who wanted someone with the background I have and the passion to see that this Main Street project is completed with the town's best interests as the top priority. These same residents were concerned with some of the turnover rate that we've had over the past few years in the town hall. I do feel that our current staff is very good, and I've been very pleased with the interactions that I've had with them. But we also want to make sure that we keep that talent here in town. We need to do whatever is possible to make sure they have the tools they need to do their jobs. And I want to make sure that the citizens are pleased with what they see from our government here at the town hall, remembering that we do work for them. Thank you.
Thank you. What should the town do, if anything, to encourage environmental stewardship and sustainability?
It's amazing how things change over time, and environmentalism has come to the forefront. Wayne Thomas made a suggestion that we investigate a solar array on the north end of town, looked at it, and we decided to move forward with it. So over the summertime, we've already knocked the trees down that we need to put up the solar array. It'll save our town significant money in our utility bill going forward, assuming everything works right. We're going to form a sustainability committee and look at other ways that we can green up Hampstead a bit. But basically, I'm looking at a sensible approach where it makes economic sense. You just don't be green to be green with no financial impact or good that comes to it. It's got to make common sense, and it's got to make dollar sense. So that's how I see the environmental in Hampstead.
Mr. Drennan?
Solar is absolutely the way to go. I don't really know about a whole lot about the project that the town has moving forward, but it's a great idea. I know that wind farms were explored. The individual windmills were explored here, but based on the close proximity of other homes, it just isn't feasible. And we're kind of limited with space as far as having the town have their own within the town limits. The other thing would be our opportunity to possibly capture and use gray water. That's another area we could explore, and that can be used for some of the businesses like the car wash or places like that. So the opportunities are there. It's just going to take time to explore, and very excited about the solar array, so I'd be interested to see that. Thank you.
Mr. Rourke?
Well, I think the town is pretty well environmentally involved already. As mentioned, the solar panels that are going up soon. One thing I think that we can do, maybe a better job of, is promoting what's recyclable and what is trash. I recently saw an updated list of recyclable products that the town put out, and I was surprised by some of the items on the list. Many things that used to have to go in the trash can now be recycled. Of course, the more we can recycle and the less that has to be piled into our landfills, the better off we all are. Another thing we can do is promote our great parks and outdoor spaces and get more people to visit the farmers market. There, people can really experience the from farm to table experience, at the same time supporting our local businesses and local farmers. Basically, I think environmental stewardship is a mindset, and if we can get people outside experiencing the parks, experiencing the farmers market, seeing our green spaces, I think it just naturally makes everyone appreciate our environment more and want to preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oglesby?
The town has already planned a new solar farm to save on electric, and I think it's a really great start. But we're also looking to become a sustainable community through forming a committee to monitor costs, monitor resources, and protect the environment. I also, once elected, suggest that we, the council, reinstate our town's tree commission. Unfortunately, the commission has been disbanded over the past few years. We recently had BG&E come through and cut down most of the trees on Main Street. I understand they claim they were causing damage to the power lines. Either way, what we need to be is good stewards of our trees and our natural resources here in town. Replacing trees on Main Street with ones that will not only look good, but will also grow not to be as tall. We must plant trees in other areas of the town as well and replace what we are allowed to have cut down. Thank you.
Thank you. What are your goals and priorities for the updated comprehensive plan? Mayor Nevin?
A lot of what we've already talked about. Examining the existing uses, look for conflicts. Is this IR use from next door residential community a good thing? Balance residential and business. Flexible zoning, already talked about on Main Street with the residential office and residential businesses. And then basically I've been approached numerous times since the bypass went around. Now we have 3 traffic circles. The middle one is not developed yet, and every developer known to man is basically coming and saying, oh, I'd love to put a retail center here, or I'd want to put a convenience store there. My answer is pretty much no. We're spending a lot of time, money, and effort in revitalizing our Main Street, where there's a number of retail businesses, and we already have existing retail hubs all throughout town, and then at the north end. We don't need more. We need business development out there along the bypass and along the circles. So the focus has to be on Main Street, and the focus has to be on continuing to help Main Street flourish.
Thank you. Mr. Drennan?
The goals for a comprehensive plan, again, land management, zoning, as the mayor said. The other thing would be the stormwater management that we have currently in place, if that needs to be revised based on the repeal of the rain tax and the implications we have coming towards the town with that. That would be another priority. Businesses, Main Street definitely a priority. Anywhere near the hub of the town would be a good idea to take a good hard look at that. If we need to rezone to accommodate other businesses, then by all means we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Well, with the bypass done and Main Street revitalization becoming a reality in the next few years. Two of the major hurdles that have been listed in past comprehensive plans are completed. Another major headache that was a big issue on the 2010 comprehensive plan will be the replacement of the water mains and the sewage lines. So a lot of the things that were major issues in the past have been done. I think the key to this comprehensive plan will be slow, smart growth. I don't think there needs to be any major changes in the zoning classifications of the town. Most of our residential zones are almost all developed, and the industrial zones are starting to fill in. If you read the 2010 comprehensive plan, you'll see that the planning goals that were set then, I think, still remain, mainly keeping the small town atmosphere of Main Street and increasing small industrial growth on the fringes in town. In my opinion, if we follow the footprint that was established in 2010, we should be in excellent shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Unglesby?
Thank you. We need to review the land designation that we already have in place at this time and make sure that it's still viable for a 2016 timeframe. At that point, we can make any adjustments to the plan that may need to be made. I do agree with Mayor Nevin that any commercial retail development on the bypass would actually be should not happen. It would be out of the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of our citizens who are kind enough to join us this evening in person, does anybody have a written question for the candidates? I guess not.
Okay. We do have one that was submitted via email, so I'll start there. For the town candidates, were there any of you asked by Mayor Nevin to run for this election? Whether you were asked or not, do you feel you can adequately represent the voters by acting as a separate entity and keep the system of checks and balances in our local government? Mr. Drennan?
I actually volunteered when I heard there was going to be 2 seats available. I talked to the mayor about possibly becoming a candidate for a seat, so that was me volunteering. I've been in the town since 1990. I care about the town. I've been in and out of services to the town, so I'd like to continue a little higher capacity than what I've been in the past, and I felt that this would be a good opportunity to take advantage of.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
Yes, I was asked by Mayor Nevin to run. He asked me very early on. The first thing I said to him was, I guess I'm doing a decent job with planning and zoning. His response was, if I wasn't, he wouldn't have asked me to consider running for town council. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. It took me until Jason Cavey announced he was moving out of town, and he couldn't seek re-election, and then I decided I would run for town council. At that point, I thought I could help more on the council than I could on planning and zoning. It's no secret that myself and the mayor are friends, have been so for close to 20 years. When he first asked me to serve on planning and zoning, I told him I would. But if I disagreed with him on something, I'd stand against him on it. There was a certain issue going on in town before I joined planning and zoning that I strongly disagreed with his views on. And I probably gave him more grief on that issue than anyone else. You can ask him. A separate entity is a good term. If you elect me, you'll get my opinion on what's best for Hampstead, no one else's. Thank you.
No, I was not asked by Mayor Nevin to run for council. As I stated before, several town residents have asked me to run because they too shared the passion that I have for the Main Street, keeping businesses in the town and attracting new businesses, while maintaining our current employees that work at the town hall and giving them the tools they need to do their jobs. I do look forward to working with the mayor and the rest of the town council on each and every item that will come before us. When I am elected, I will, along with the rest of the council, as well as the mayor, be held accountable to only one group. That's the citizens of Hampstead. Thank you.
Did you have a reply?
Sure. It's not like people were knocking down the door to run for town council in this election. There's 3 of them up here for 2 seats. There was nobody knocking down the door for my seat. So I think there's a lot going on here. I don't know whether that scares people away or not. There's been a number of tickets that I've run on over the years, and I can tell you that there's no litmus test for agreeing with the mayor. I see it over again. There's been so many independent voices that come forward. I can go back to the beginning with Larry Hentz, and he and I would have long debates. Ken Meekins is a great friend. If I step off a railroad track or touch the third rail, he tells me. Jim's already talked about a couple of times that we've disagreed. It's just basically looking for good people with a professional background who are going to do the job and look at the town of Hampstead and what's best for it in the long term.
Thank you. We will now give the candidates the opportunity for a closing statement. We will limit that to 2 minutes each, please. Mayor Nevin?
Thank you. I'm basically fortunate to be part of a great team. I may be the mayor, but I'm not the quarterback of this team. The analogy I use is I'm the left tackle. There was a movie out called The Blind Side, and that's my job, is just to protect the blind side for these people who are very gifted, very talented, and have a lot of really good ideas. I basically just try to open up holes for them to run through and make sure they don't get hit where they least expect it. I think we have a lot of examples of where that's worked to the best. Marlene Duff, our councilwoman, sitting out in the audience with her farmer's market idea. Wayne Thomas, when I first started back in 1995, was fooling around with a train station. He still is, and he's done a great job with it. The business directory that was mentioned earlier that Lorraine in our town hall came up with has been a great addition. Project approvals and the way we go about approving them. I just think, it's a great team to be a part of. A very active and engaged employee group. There's no real hierarchy. It's very flat. They can come talk to Tammy, they can come talk to Ken, or they got an open door and can come talk right to me. It does not appear that there's much competition for this election, as I mentioned before, but there are a number of important issues as we've highlighted here earlier, most important of which is Main Street. One vote, which is basically your vote, can make a difference in the direction of our town. I can tell you back in 1999, it happened. Somebody won by one vote. So basically, even though it doesn't look like there's much to vote for, there is. So get out there, exercise your vote, and show up on May 12th. Barb and Tammy, thank you for doing this. CMC, thank you for putting this together. And I thank everyone out there for their consideration, and we look forward to seeing you on May 12th here at Town Hall for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Drennan?
There are a lot of exciting things coming to the town of Hampstead. I very much want to be a part of that. I've been involved with the town many, many years. When we first moved here, there were a lot of things that were just very drab, mundane, and I have seen such a dramatic improvement in the time that I've been here. The council, the mayor, Mayor Shoemaker, previous mayors to him, everybody has made such a difference in this town. The farmers market is just fabulous. It's really something to be proud of. I've seen the revitalization of Matthews Tires come back to life there, and they're doing a great business. There's a lot to be said for the town, and I really, truly want to be a part of it. I hope that I can provide the knowledge and expertise for what we're facing for the next 4 years to help everyone understand moving forward, and really looking forward to the conclusion of the revitalization and just how amazing this town will be in hopefully 3 or 4 years. My name's Chuck Drennan, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke?
First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and attending this candidate forum tonight. I'd like to thank the town of Hampstead for hosting and Community Media Center for broadcasting and recording it. I hope we were able to provide you all with some insight into our views on what we believe is in the best interest for the people in the town of Hampstead. As I stated before, I believe that Hampstead is a special place. When I moved here from Reisterstown years ago, I told people that I moved 11 miles in 25 years. The small town feel, the friendly and respectful people of Hampstead make it a place that I want to be a part of and to help ensure that it stays that way. Young families move to our town to raise their kids because of the overall quality of life here. And isn't it reassuring to know you live in one of the safest places in Maryland? Towns like Hampstead are becoming rare these days, and we need to ensure that we can retain our way of living, and I'd love to be a part of helping us do that. Thanks again. My name is Jim Rourke, and I hope that you will vote for me on May 12th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Unglesby?
Thanks. Once again, I'd like to thank the town hall employees, the citizens of Hampstead that came out tonight, and the Carroll Media Center for hosting the event this evening. I feel that tonight I've been able to share my skills and background and passions that I have here for Hampstead. I want it to be a place that we can live, work, and shop. We have many challenges to face over the next few years, such as the Main Street project. But this will start with the right leadership. Tonight I ask for your vote for council, but I also ask each and every voter to please come out and cast a vote. We need to see a large turnout this election. A big turnout will show other towns in Carroll that we as Hampstead citizens are serious and want what's best for our town. We need to start with leadership that will guide our town through these many projects and goals that we have set for our town. I know that I have the background, skills, and passion to allow us as a town to succeed. Again, on Tuesday, May 12th, I ask you to please come out and vote, cast a vote for Dave Unglesby for Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our candidate forum. I'd like to thank the candidates, the citizens of Hampstead, Mrs. Burke, and the Carroll Community, or the Carroll Media Center. And I want to remind everybody that tonight's candidate forum will be broadcast on Comcast Cable Channel 19 and will be available for viewing on the Community Media Center's website at www.carrollmediacenter.org. Thank you and have a nice evening.